Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum, the refreshing, delicious treat that gives you chewing enjoyment, presents for your listening enjoyment John Lund as Johnny Dollar.
New York Police Department calling. Mr. Dollar, will you accept the charges?
Yeah, put them on.
Just a moment, please. Ready with your call to Hartford, Connecticut. Go ahead.
Hello, Dollar?
That's right.
This is Sergeant Papish, robbery. I have a notation here. You're the one to contact in the case that came up. Allied Adjustment Bureau?
Well, I've done a lot of work for him. What's it about, Sergeant?
Well, we've recovered a mink coat you were looking for about 6 months ago.
Oh?
Yeah, stolen from a party named Jacoby in Rochester. The Jacobys are in Europe right now, but the furrier's already identified it as the one he sold to him.
Jacoby? Rochester?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember. It was insured for $5,000. There's some other things taken in the same haul. A watch, rings, bracelet.
That's the job. So far, we just have the coat and the girl who was wearing it.
What does she say?
Nothing. So far, she's got a couple of bullet holes in her.
Maybe I better get down there, Sergeant.
Room 212, Sergeant Papish.
Right. The makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum bring you John Lund in a transcribed adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum refreshes you. Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum gives you real chewing enjoyment. Yes, for chewing enjoyment plus refreshment, it's Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. The lively, delicious flavor of Wrigley's Spearmint cools your mouth, helps keep your throat moist, and gives you a nice little lift. The good, smooth chewing of Wrigley's Spearmint helps keep you feeling fresh and alert, adds enjoyment to whatever you're doing. So for chewing enjoyment plus refreshment, treat yourself often to Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Allied Adjustment Bureau, Markham Building, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Rochester Theft Matter. Expense account item 1, $1.65. Person-to-person collect call from Sergeant Papish, New York Police Department. Item 2, $32.56. Train fare and incidentals between Hartford and New York City after clearing authority to resume on the Jacoby case. It had been stalemated 6 months before when the Rochester police and I were unable to recover any part of the items stolen from the Jacoby residence. I arrived in New York at 1:35, dropped my bags off at the New Weston, then went directly to the Metropolitan Police Station. Hello. I wonder if you could help me. I'm looking for Sergeant Papish.
I'm Papish.
Oh, Johnny Dollar, Sergeant.
Oh. Thanks for coming down, Dollar. Have a chair.
Oh, thanks.
Your mink coat's in the crime lab. They're looking it over.
Uh-huh.
We still haven't found out much about the girl who was wearing it.
What's her name?
Yeah, just Jane Doe for now. We didn't have her prints on file here, but we're waiting to hear from Washington now. She's been unconscious ever since we picked her up. Pretty bad shape.
Oh, what exactly happened?
It came in as a complaint about 3 this morning. A woman over on 57th Street telephoned about a disturbance. A prowl car went over to the address and found this girl lying in the entrance to the apartment house wearing the mink coat. She'd been shot twice.
Uh-huh.
No one in the apartment house seemed to know her or had ever seen her before. We asked about the neighborhood. No dice. But we did find out how she got there.
Oh?
The lady across the street said she saw a man drive up sometime after midnight and unload the girl from his car. She was able to give us a fair description of the car and the man. Here.
Nice.
But nothing definite. No license number or anything like that. Could be any car and any man, from what she said. Got an APB out, of course.
Was there a purse or anything?
Nothing. The dress she was wearing came from a store downtown. Hundreds just like it. The coat was the only item that might have helped, and it turned up listed in the stolen property file.
How about jewelry?
Small diamond ring on her little finger. I looked over the list of things taken in that Jacoby robbery. It doesn't fit any of those. You can look at it if you want to.
I'll take your word for it.
I suppose the insurance company paid off the claim.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Well, at least we have the colt back for you. Maybe we'll get a line on the other things when this girl regains consciousness. If she does.
Pretty bad, is it?
Yeah. Nice-looking girl, too. Only about 25 or so. Excuse me.
Sure.
Robbery, Sergeant Papish. Oh, let me get it down here. 213 West. Right. Okay, see you there. Bye. Just got an answer from Washington.
They able to identify the girl?
Yeah, address and all. She had a postal savings once. Name's Eileen Madden.
You mind if I go with you?
Come on. Maybe you'll get back all of your loot.
I accompanied Sergeant Papish to the address for Eileen Madden. Turned out to be a fairly nice apartment in a fairly nice neighborhood. By the time we arrived there, a full crew of technicians were at work giving the place a complete check. Sergeant Papish introduced me to a tall, heavy-set man.
This is Mr. Dollar from the insurance company, Walt. Sergeant Walter.
Hi.
How are you, Sergeant?
Oh, fine. I'm afraid we haven't done any good for you so far. Haven't found anything here to go with that mink coat.
Oh.
Have you talked to anybody around here yet?
Just getting started on it. The lady who lives across the hall might be able to help us.
Where is she?
In there. Her name's Ethel Stromberg. Mrs.
Okay.
I'll take it here.
Right. Are you Mrs. Stromberg?
Yes, I am.
I'm Sergeant Papish. This is Mr. Dollar.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How's poor Eileen?
Not very good, Mrs. Stromberg. She's still unconscious.
Oh, dear, that's terrible. It's just a terrible thing. Where is she? I'd like to go to see her if it's possible.
She's at the police emergency hospital right now, Mrs. Stromberg. I'll have them phone you when she can see people.
Well, thank you. What an awful thing. How did that happen? What's that all about?
Maybe you can tell us something about her, Mrs. Stromberg. Where she worked, how she lived, what people she knew.
Oh, dear.
How long have you known her?
Well, I moved in here about 5 months ago. I met her the very first day.
Mm-hmm. Nice girl?
Oh, yes, very nice girl. Quiet, minded her own business.
Do you know where we can contact her family?
No, I can't help you there, Sergeant. I know they live somewhere in California, but that's about all. She talks about them now and then.
How about her friends here in town?
What about them?
Did she talk about any of her friends to you?
What do you mean?
Well, she's a pretty girl, young. Boyfriends, maybe.
Yes, she did talk about them now and then. You suppose one of them had something to do?
Mrs. Stromberg, Eileen Madden was dumped from a convertible last night after she'd been shot. A witness described the car as possibly blue or black in color, white top, white sidewalls. She said it was a late model Cadillac or Buick. Do you know if any of Miss Madden's friends drove a car that comes near that description at all?
Why, yes. Yes, I saw him pick her up one night. I was just coming home.
Saw who pick her up, Mrs. Stromberg?
A man she called Bill.
Bill who?
I really don't know his last name. She didn't introduce me to him. But she talks about him. He drove a black Cadillac.
Can you tell us what he looks like?
Well, he seemed very tall.
As tall as Sergeant Papish here?
So about your height, very nice looking. He seemed quite big. Husky, sort of. Very nicely dressed, too.
What color was his hair?
I don't know. He always wore a hat. I think it was dark, though.
His eyes?
I don't know.
About how old would you say?
Oh, I'm no good at this, but I say between 30 and 35.
Seems to fit what we have from the witness.
Yeah.
This Bill, would you say he had money?
Oh, yes, I would say so. He drove that nice big convertible. He always dressed so nice. And he gave Eileen pretty nice things.
Do you know if he ever gave her any jewelry?
I don't know. I don't think so. Eileen would usually run across the hall and show me when he sent her something nice. I don't remember her ever showing me any jewelry.
I just talked to the hospital.
How is she?
Just coming around. I think you better go over there and talk to her if you're gonna.
Is she bad?
They think she's dying, Mrs. Stromberg.
Think she'll make it?
Hard to say right now. Sometimes they rally. She must have been in their doorway a half hour or better before we got to her.
Mm-hmm.
She said anything, Doctor?
No. You might have to wait a little while for her to come around.
I see.
I'll tell you both. Ask what you have to know quick. 2 minutes is about all I can give you with it.
Sure, Doctor.
Oh, better put your cigarettes in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, miss. Okay, boys.
Is she conscious?
Yeah, she can hear you.
Are you Eileen Madden? Is Eileen Madden your name?
Yes.
You're seriously hurt, Miss Madden. Can you tell us how it happened? Miss Madden?
No.
Bill shot you?
Yes.
What's Bill's name? Where can we find him?
Doctor.
Watch it. Nurse, hand me that. Sorry, fellas. There was nothing I could do.
Friends, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you'll enjoy chewing Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. Chew Wrigley's Spearmint while you're working. The lively, full-bodied flavor of Wrigley's Spearmint gives you a refreshing little lift. The smooth, pleasant chewing of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum helps keep you feeling relaxed and satisfied. Makes your job seem easier. Chew Wrigley's Spearmint Gum in your home, when you're out walking or driving, when you're enjoying sports and other activities. Wrigley's Spearmint Gum tastes good anytime, and the natural chewing aids digestion and helps keep your teeth bright and attractive. Yes, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you'll enjoy chewing Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious. And now, with our star, John Lund, we bring you the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar.
Eileen Madden died at 3:35 in the afternoon without giving us the full name of the man who shot her the night before. I stayed with Sergeant Papish and Sergeant Walters as they continued their investigation of her death and the appearance of the mink coat covered in policy number 27M55567, issued to Roland J. Jacoby, Rochester, New York. The apartment where she had lived yielded some information.
Here it is. Letters from Robert J. Madden in Riverside, California. Looks like her father.
Okay, we'd better notify him.
This might be the best lead.
What's that?
This picture. Found in one of her closets.
Let's see. $1.
Oh, thanks. Love, Bill.
He loved her, all right.
Yeah. Anybody identified this yet?
That Mrs. Stromberg's supposed to be here right now. What time you got?
Oh, 1:30.
She said she'd be here at 6.
Anything on the bullets?
They didn't check with anything in our lab. Ballistics says it was an Army 45. The old 1911 model.
Pretty good gun for killing.
What gun isn't?
Oh, I got the wrong room at first.
Oh, come in, Mrs. Stromberg. You remember Sergeant Papish and Mr. Dollar?
Yes. Do I have to answer more questions?
Not many more.
Oh, I'm just all worn out. I can't get over this terrible thing happening to Eileen. Did you get in touch with her family?
Business office is doing it right now.
Oh, dear, what a terrible, terrible thing.
Mrs. Stromberg, you ever seen this man before?
Oh, yes. That's Bill.
The man Eileen's been going with?
Yes.
The man who drives the black Cadillac convertible?
Yes, that's him. But did he do this terrible thing?
It looks that way, Mrs. Stromberg.
Oh, dear, dear.
Sergeant Pavish. Yeah. Yeah, right. Goodbye. Did Eileen Madden ever mention to you that she had been married?
Why, no. She never did. Was she?
In the state of New York in 1951. Just found out from vitals.
Divorced?
Yeah. Her ex-husband's name is Bill. Bill Powers. Sergeant Pavish, this is Mr. Dollar.
How do you do? What's the matter?
May we come inside, Mr. Powers?
Sure. Well, what's this all about?
Do you know a woman named Eileen Madden, Mr. Powers?
Yeah, sure. We were married once. Why?
Eileen Madden was shot to death last night, Mr. Powers.
Eileen?
Yes.
Are you sure?
We checked her prints.
Oh. Shot?
Yes.
What? Oh, what happened? How could a thing like that happen?
That's what we're trying to find out, Mr. Powers.
I can't believe it. Eileen dead.
Have you seen her lately?
Well, yeah, I saw her last week. We had a drink together. Are you sure it's Eileen?
We'd make sure before we came around with news like this. Mr. Dollar represents an insurance company, Mr. Powers. Miss Madden was wearing a stolen coat when we found her.
Stolen coat?
Yes, a stolen mink coat. Was she ever in trouble anywhere?
I don't care what she was wearing. Eileen never steal anything. She was a fine girl, a wonderful girl. I was a fool to ever let our marriage go on the rocks.
Can you come with us, Mr. Powers?
Where?
We need a positive identification.
Sure. Sure, Sergeant. I'll be right with you.
Want to smoke?
Thanks.
Well, he isn't the bird in the picture.
No. Did you see the car in the driveway?
Yeah, 51 Caddy, black convertible.
On the way to the city morgue with the ex-husband of Eileen Madden, we tried to get more information from him regarding her activities up till the time of her death. But Powers seemed so distraught that he could only speak of their short marriage and the reason it had ended. It was an old and especially sad story of a man who couldn't provide well enough for a beautiful wife. However, once he'd seen her body at the morgue and identified it, he seemed to get better control of himself. We all walked across the street for coffee.
I hope you get whoever did this, Sergeant. I hope you get him fast.
We sure want to, Mr. Powers.
Why would anybody do that to Eileen? Why?
Maybe you can help us answer that.
Oh, you're just interested in that coat you say she was wearing. Well, mister, I don't believe she was wearing a stolen coat. What do you think of that?
I'm just looking for the facts, Mr. Powers. I'd like to prove what you just said as badly as you'd like to have it proved. But we have to start somewhere. You can understand that.
I suppose so.
You told us you saw her last week for a drink.
That's right.
Have you been seeing her right along?
Yeah, sure.
Did you know that she's been going with somebody else?
Sure.
Then you know Bill?
Bill Chambers?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know him, but she talked about him a lot.
Is this Bill Chambers, Mr. Powers?
Yeah, that's him. I thought you knew.
You're sure this is him?
Sure. This picture was in her place. I went there one day and saw it and asked her who he was. Eileen told me all about him.
What did she tell you about him?
Why, she said she was going with him. She told me that he wanted to marry her. Said he had lots of money.
Did she tell you where he works?
No.
Or what kind of work he does?
No.
You know where we can get in touch with him?
No, I don't know that either. Say, do you think he might have done this to her?
We'd like to talk to him.
I know she's been going with him for a few months, what she told me.
And you've been seeing her the same time she was seeing Chambers?
Well, yeah, that's right. She didn't want to marry him. She wanted to marry me again.
You know what kind of a car Chambers drives?
Cadillac.
Thought you never met him.
Well, she told me about his car. It's another thing. I went out and bought one myself. I thought it might do me some good with her.
Mm-hmm. Were you at home last night?
Yeah? Can you prove it?
Yeah. I was home. She was out getting killed.
The name William Chambers was checked through the New York police files. They listed 24 persons who more or less fit his general description. It took 2 days to locate and talk with all of them. Neither Mrs. Stromberg nor the witness who had seen the body dumped from the car could identify any of them. An all-points bulletin regarding the suspect and his car had been issued as soon as we learned his name. Same results, nothing. On the third day, the pawn shop detail turned up 2 more items that had been taken in the Jacoby robbery.
There they are.
Huh. Watch and ring. Jacoby stuff?
Case numbers on the watch check out. The ring's engraved.
Where'd they wind up?
Shop on 3rd Street. The proprietor says it was sold yesterday. Man who sold them signed the buy book James a Genuine.
How about his description?
Fitz Chambers down the line.
Well, at least he was still in town yesterday.
Yeah, but his stuff's been on the hot sheet for a long time. If he's had any experience at all, he knew he was taking a chance trying to unload it.
Probably trying to raise cash to get out of town.
That's what I was thinking. Gave him an address on Polk Street, a vacant lot.
If he keeps on trying to unload it, I'll have all the loot back.
If he keeps on trying, we'll keep on trying.
Well, they found his car.
Where?
Used car lot in the Bronx. He sold it at 10 o'clock this morning.
At the used car lot, we learned that a man answering the description of William Chambers had driven in that morning and offered a black 51 Cadillac convertible for sale. The used car lot manager had finally settled on a price and made out a check. He reported that the man had seemed extremely nervous and anxious to make a quick deal. The car was impounded and examined. A full set of fingerprints on the steering wheel and dashboard gave us a positive identification of William Chambers.
William Carlson, alias William Carls, William Charles, Walter Cameron, male, Caucasian, age 33, 178, 6'1". Let's see, 14 arrests, 2 convictions, both car theft.
Quite a lad.
Aren't they all? Doesn't look like a killer, though, does he?
I don't know. What's a killer supposed to look like? The search to locate William Carlson, alias William Chambers, extended to all parts of the city. The associates and relatives listed in his criminal file were contacted and questioned. All of them denied having any knowledge of his whereabouts. In the meantime, 2 more pieces of stolen property connected with the Jacoby theft were recovered by the pawn shop detail. Each of the pawn shop proprietors identified the mugshot of the wanted man. He'd used different names in each instance. The handwriting was the same. Each address had to be checked out. I went with Sergeant Papish to the one he had given on 78th Street. It was not a vacant lot.
Hello?
Hello. We're looking for William Courtney.
You found him?
Huh?
Cops?
Yeah.
Come on in.
Hold still.
I'm clean. Checked me through the buy book yesterday?
Yeah. Your name's Carlson, isn't it? William Carlson?
Yep.
We've been looking a long time for you.
I know. Yesterday, I decided I'd let you find me. I gave my right address.
You want to get your hat?
Sure. Look, I didn't mean to kill Eileen. I didn't mean to at all. I want you to know that.
Let's talk about it downtown.
No, we won't. I'm not talking to anybody downtown. I'm talking to you two right now, and that's it. So you better listen.
Okay.
I've been doing pretty good with these house jobs. Real good. Enough to buy myself a nice car, get some clothes, get around a little bit. I work all alone. I met her. I liked her. I wanted to marry her. I did. I really did. We went out the other night, and I gave her the mink coat for a present. I thought that'd cinch it. She didn't want to take it. She told me she was going to marry some guy she'd been married to before. I let her have it.
That's all?
That's all. That's it, mister. I could have run. Sold my car. Getting rid of a lot of odds and ends I have around. I decided not to, after all. I don't want to run.
Okay, let's get with it.
Remember, I let you get me. I wrote my address right down where I knew you'd check it out.
Okay.
And there's no more talking. You two got it all straight.
What's the matter with you, anyway?
You got it all? I mean, about everything?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
Hey, wait a minute.
You guys are too late. I took it when I heard you knock on the door.
Where's the phone?
It's too late, I tell you. It's in my stomach now. It's too late.
Not for me, brother. I handle plenty of babies, just like you.
It's too late.
Grab him, Miff.
I got it. No. Look out.
Ah, shut up. You're going to stand trial, baby.
Sergeant Papish had handled attempted suicides. A lot of them. And in the 5 minutes before the arrival of the emergency ambulance, he managed to force William Carlson to take an antidote that saved his life. The remainder of the Jacoby theft items were found in and around the apartment of the suspect, along with other stolen property listed with the New York police. All of the articles on the enclosed list have been impounded and will be available following the trial of William Carlson. Expense account item 3, hotel and board while in New York, $88.65. Item 4, same as item 2, transportation back to Hartford. Expense account total, $155.42. Remarks? Please file a copy of the above report for the information of William Powers in regard to his ex-wife, Eileen Madden. I think this is what he wanted. Well, that's it. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Remember, friends, Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum refreshes you. Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum gives you real chewing enjoyment. The lively, full-bodied flavor of Wrigley's Spearmint cools your mouth, freshens your taste, sweetens your breath. The smooth, pleasant chewing of Wrigley's Spearmint helps keep you feeling relaxed and satisfied, makes whatever you're doing more enjoyable. Yes, for refreshment plus chewing enjoyment, treat yourself often to Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Millions enjoy it daily. Get a few packages and always keep some handy. That's Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, brought to you by Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum, stars John Lund in the title role and was written by E. Jack Newman with music by Eddie Dunstetter. Featured in tonight's cast were Virginia Gregg, John McIntyre, Jim Nusser, Jeanette Nolan, Victor Perrin, and Bill Johnstone. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle. The makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum hope you enjoyed tonight's story of Johnny Dollar and that you're enjoying delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Gum every day. This is Charles Lyon, inviting you to join us again next week at this same time when, from Hollywood, John Lund returns as...
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
This is the CBS Radio Network.
Why let your floors get scuffed up? Beacon Wax stops floor scuffing.
The WBBM Air Theater, Wrigley Building, Chicago.
Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum, the refreshing, delicious treat that gives you chewing enjoyment, presents for your listening enjoyment John Lund as
Johnny Dollar.
Hi, Johnny. Frank Preston, Baltimore Liability.
Oh, hi, Frank. How's it going?
Okay, I guess, Johnny. Say, you tied up?
No, not at the moment. What is it?
A bad check artist out on the West Coast has been giving us a lot of headaches lately.
Uh-huh.
Hotel in Monterey, another one at Santa Cruz, and this morning I had a wire from one of our clients who runs a place in Santa Barbara. $4,500 worth of claims already, and all in 5 days.
Sounds like a very busy man.
That's something else. It isn't a man, it's a woman.
A woman?
And you've got to stop her, Johnny.
the makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum bring you John Lund in another adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum refreshes you. Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum gives you real chewing enjoyment. Yes, for chewing enjoyment plus refreshment, it's Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. The lively, delicious flavor of Wrigley's Spearmint cools your mouth, helps keep your throat moist, and gives you a nice little lift. The good, smooth chewing of Wrigley's Spearmint helps keep you feeling fresh and alert, adds enjoyment to whatever you're doing. So for chewing enjoyment plus refreshment, treat yourself often to Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Baltimore Liability and Trust Corporation, 418 Virginia Boulevard, Baltimore, Maryland. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Emily Braddock Matter. Expense account item 1, $158.16. Plane fare and incidentals, Hartford to Santa Barbara. My mid-morning arrival was timed for the sun and the sea to show off a sizable and pleasantly crowded harbor, some sprawling hotels, 2 lush green golf courses, and acres of snug, expensive homes. At the police station, my contact, a Sergeant Lopez, was out, so I went over to the Harbor Inn and met the victimized hotel operator, Glenn Sheridan. Tall, gray-haired, slacks, sports shirt, suntan, and sandals.
On the face of it, you'd think I'd been in the hotel business 20 minutes instead of 20 years, the way that woman took me.
Well, she's done the same thing in several other nice hotels up and down the coast, if that's any comfort.
Well, it isn't. I suppose the thing that bothers me most is that if she walked through that door right now and told me none of it was true, I'd probably believe her.
She was that good?
Mr. Dollar, she was the best. Why, she pranced in here as big as life, and she probably didn't have a nickel in her purse. And what's more, for the whole 4 days she was here, she didn't break her stride once.
What do you mean?
Well, only the best of everything.
Oh. She gave you a check for $813, is that right?
Painfully right.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it, no questions. Every night in the dining room, she'd order champagne, special dishes. I've seen my share of grifters and bad check artists, but she tops them all. Perfume, clothes, luggage, conversation, and a very pretty woman, Dollar. Beautiful, in fact.
She checked in alone, registered as Mrs. Robert Payne, Beverly Hills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did it strike you as odd that a woman would check into a place like this, a resort hotel, alone?
No, she wasn't alone long. She met other people. Became friends with at least a half a dozen guests in the place.
Uh-huh.
The way she was throwing my money around, why not? She picked up all the tabs. Well, ordinarily, I'd have been suspicious under those circumstances, Mr. Dollar, but she threw me off right from the very start.
Well, how's that, Mr. Sheridan?
Well, she showed up about midnight, came in a cab that was just loaded down with expensive luggage. Probably wrote a bad check for that someplace.
Yeah, probably.
She came swinging in the lobby with a cabbie following her and told the night clerk she wanted to see me. When I came down to the desk, she yelled, "Sherry!" Ran up and kissed me and asked how my wife was. Can you beat that?
Nope.
She acted as though we knew each other. And one of those tricks your mind plays on you in this business, I actually thought I remembered her from someplace.
I see.
She registered as Mrs. Robert Payne. Said she was on her way back from Lake Tahoe, wanted to rest up. Something about just getting a divorce and being awarded $3,000 a month alimony. That impressed me.
Well, it didn't impress anyone, Mr. Sheridan.
Well, I did make a check. She gave her home address as Beverly Hills, and there was a Robert Payne listed there. Later on, I found out he's in Europe with his wife and children.
But his name was in the book.
Yeah, and that was enough for me. Oh, she had a wonderful 4 days here, I'll say that for her.
Getting back to that part about her looking familiar.
Well, there's nothing in that, Dollar. I did think I had seen her before, and of course she helped me think it, but I was too embarrassed to press the matter with her, I guess.
Do you have a copy of her hotel account? I'd like to look it over.
Yeah. The police have the check she gave me. It was drawn on a bank in Beverly Hills.
Was it personalized?
No. Maybe I should have thought something of that, huh? Well, here's this much. I can't stand to look it over. It makes me kind of sick. $813.
I spent another hour with Mr. Sheridan as he distastefully covered the items on the bill she'd paid with a bad check. Later that afternoon, I met with Sergeant Lopez, who reported a woman answering the same description had passed bad checks in Burlingame, Santa Maria, and Ojai. Expense account item 2, $114.85. Transportation to Monterey and Santa Cruz, where I interviewed the other 2 clients who had filed claims. Their stories were much the same as Sheridan's. Expense account item 3, $4.15. Long-distance phone call.
That you, Johnny?
Yeah, Frank. All the claims are pretty solid. The police have no line on this...
Don't come home.
Oh?
Hop down to Malibu Beach. She's done it again. At a place called the Seaside Inn. The guy who runs it found out it was bad 15 minutes after she left. That was this morning. I don't expect any miracles, but if you get down there right away, maybe you can get on her trail.
Well, I'll try. Expense account item 4, $38 even. Transportation Santa Barbara to Malibu. I didn't even bother to listen to a disgruntled hotel proprietor repeat a story I knew so well. I went directly to the sheriff's station and Sergeant Pell's.
Well, that's about the picture. She was at the inn for 4 days and checked out this morning. She used the name Bradley. Ellen Bradley. She can't be too far ahead of you now.
No.
There might be a break on this one, too. While she was at the inn, she took up with one of our local residents, a man by the name of Garland. Lives over in the colony. He drove her into town this morning.
Have you talked to him?
I can't find him anywhere. He has a house over in the colony.
The colony?
Yeah, that's down the road a piece. They call it that because a lot of movie stars built beach homes there a long time ago. Movie colony, you know?
Oh, yeah. Is this Garland an actor?
Yeah, when he gets work, which isn't very often, I guess. Mainly, he keeps suntanned. We're trying to locate him now, and as soon as we do it...
Oh, sure.
Sergeant Pell. Yeah, right away. Garland's home now.
I went with Sergeant Pell's to talk with Garland, who was in trunks and sunglasses in front of his house. A healthy, muscular, handsome man in his mid-30s. He was a little stunned by the news we brought him.
Ellen, a phony? Sergeant, are you sure about this?
Well, you can ask the man at the Seaside Inn. He got the check, and Mr. Dollar here's been looking all over the state for it.
Well, come on, let's go up into the house.
All right.
I thought I knew her pretty well.
Did you meet her out here, or did you know her before?
Oh, I met her at the Seaside Inn the first night she was here. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Now, sit down. Like something to drink?
No, thank you.
Not now, thanks. Understand you drove her into Los Angeles.
That's right. I took her in this morning.
Where did you take her?
Beverly Glen Hotel.
Did she check in there?
No, she just dumped all her luggage. She told me she didn't know whether or not she'd have to go to Chicago tonight. Something about a house she owned there that had to be rented or sold.
Did you leave her there?
No, she made a phone call. Said she had to meet her lawyer.
Yeah? She say where?
Yeah, a bar in Hollywood. Topper on Coenga. So I drove her over there and left her.
When was this?
Oh, 3 hours ago, about 1 o'clock, I guess.
How was she dressed?
Black strapless job.
Uh-huh. Did she mention any names? Tell you anything about herself?
Yeah, she told me that 6 months ago, her little 2-year-old boy was killed in an automobile accident. She said that was the thing that broke up her marriage to this Bradley guy.
Uh-huh.
said she needed to believe in something again, that she needed someone to believe in her. Well, I figured her for a pretty nice person, just having a little fling. Even with what you've told me, I believe that part of it.
Why?
Because she told me, and she cried a little when she was telling me. Oh, I don't care how you look at me. I don't think anyone could invent a story that tragic without some sort of basis.
Well, maybe you've got a point, Garland, but a good liar can see a story in a newspaper, adapt it to his own needs, and maybe even cry a little about it.
Well, I still believe it. You know, Mr. Dollar, you ought to try believing what people tell you sometime.
Yeah, I'll try it. Next time I have 2 weeks off.
What?
In my business, they call that a vacation.
Well, what'll it be, gents?
Police.
I'd like to talk to the man who was on duty here at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, that's me, Sergeant. My name's Lenny Pollard. Anything wrong?
No, just routine.
Well, can I get you something?
No, thank you. We're trying to locate a woman who's been using the name Ellen Bradley. We were told she was in here around 1 o'clock today.
I don't recognize that name.
About 5'5", dark brown hair, brown eyes. Wore a black strapless summer dress when last seen. 30 or under.
Uh-huh. No, no one like that. 1 o'clock's a pretty quiet time. In fact, all afternoon's been quiet. No woman like that's been in here at all.
You been here all the time?
Yeah, on duty since 11 o'clock. That's when we open. You sure this is the right place, the Topper?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Wish I could help you.
When we got to the Beverly Glen Hotel, a worried clerk was still wondering what to do with the 14 pieces of luggage Ellen Bradley had left there earlier. No, she hadn't phoned in and given him any instructions. No, she was not registered at the hotel. Sergeant Pels made arrangements for a man to cover the lobby in case she showed up to claim her things. By 8 the next morning, the Central Identification Bureau in Sacramento made a positive identification on a thumbprint taken from her room at the Seaside Hotel. She was identified as Emily Miles Braddock. Her nearest living relative was a sister, Elaine. Address 112 East Orange Avenue, Los Angeles.
You down there?
Yes?
Who are you looking for?
Elaine Braddock. Are you Miss Braddock?
What do you want?
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
Well, I don't want to buy nothing.
I'm not selling anything. I'm an insurance investigator.
You sure you got the right party?
Elaine Braddock?
Come on up, mister. Just open the door and come on up. Come on in. Wanted to see me, here I am. What do you want to see me about?
The gray-haired woman who had cackled at me from the second story was sitting in a wheelchair by the window. My name's Johnny Dollar. I'm here about your sister.
Oh, Emily, huh?
Yes, we're trying to find her. Has she been around here? We know she's in the Los Angeles area.
Emily was here a little bit yesterday afternoon. Where she's gone now, I don't know. Have no idea.
How long was she here?
Oh, she stayed maybe 2 or 3 hours. I hope I don't ever see her again. She's no good.
Well, how did she get here? By car? Cab?
I don't know. Just standing at the door yesterday, the same as you, all of a sudden.
Well, how did she leave?
Walked. Tried to borrow some money from me, but I wouldn't give her none, so she had to walk.
Did she make any phone calls or see anybody else while she was here?
Well, she made a call.
Any idea who it was?
No.
Did you happen to hear anything she said on the phone?
No. Showing up here just like that after not writing or letting me hear from her all the time she was away. Getting herself in trouble with the police. Being in jail. 10 years ago when I got hurt, she promised she'd take care of me. Look how she's done it. I have to live on the county. You know that? I got to live on the county, and nobody cares about me. Is she in bad trouble?
I'm afraid so.
Well, how bad is it, mister?
Oh, 10 years, maybe.
10 years? 10 years? Gee, 2 was bad enough, but 10... What'd you say your name was?
Dollar.
Mr. Dollar, I hope you don't catch her. Even if she killed someone, I hope you don't catch her. And I hate her. You're only young a little while, and that's all you got. 10 years in prison, and she'd come out worse off than I am.
Friends, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you'll enjoy chewing Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. Chew Wrigley's Spearmint while you're working. The lively, full-bodied flavor of Wrigley's Spearmint gives you a refreshing little lift. The smooth, pleasant chewing of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum helps keep you feeling relaxed and satisfied, makes your job seem easier. Chew Wrigley's Spearmint Gum in your home, when you're out walking or driving, when you're enjoying sports and other activities. Wrigley's Spearmint Gum tastes good anytime, and the natural chewing aids digestion and helps keep your teeth bright and attractive. Yes, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you'll enjoy chewing Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious. And now, with our star, John Lund, we bring you the second act of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
That afternoon, a follow-up came on Emily Miles Braddock. The completed folder included a mug shot that showed a woman of 30 years with dark brown hair, wide-set eyes, a well-formed nose and mouth. I took it with me when I went back to see Tom Garland.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Mind if I come in?
Well, what now?
Your friend.
Well, what about her?
I've been thinking about what you told me about her yesterday.
That's nice.
Here. Take a look at this. That's her, isn't it?
Yeah, that's her.
Can we talk now?
Okay, come on in.
Her name's Emily Braddock, not Ellen Bradley. Up until 2 months ago, she was in the state correction home for women, serving a 2-year term for grand theft.
Here, take your picture back.
I'm not pushing my weight showing it to you, Garland. But you're a little stubborn about what you want to believe about her. If she lost a baby, as she told you, she was in prison when it happened. I thought I'd better prove this lie.
All right, so you proved it.
You mind if I sit down?
No, help yourself.
Thanks.
Well, do you have anything else to tell me?
Well, I suppose I do, since you don't seem to want to tell me anything. I've been on this case almost a week now. In that time, I've talked to 8 different men who have met Emily Braddock, and 1 woman who knew her by her real name and for what she really is. Garland, every one of those people came out on the short end of things with her.
Just a minute,
I've looked at this mug shot. I've heard these men describe her, and I think I can understand why. It's not hard to imagine this face set off with a nice hairdo, some earrings, makeup, and the works. This sister of hers I met this morning lives in a very crummy neighborhood, a family home. She's all Emily has left, or vice versa. Emily walked out on her.
Well, if it's as bad as you say it is, why shouldn't she?
For one reason, her sister's a hopeless cripple. But even she would protect Emily. You're my only hope.
What?
This woman can get away from us right now. She's smart and clever. She can go right on doing the same thing she's been doing all along. Oh, she'll get caught eventually,
But because I know her and she passed a few bad checks doesn't mean that I'm responsible in any way. You know that.
You're right, it doesn't. But you're involved just the same. You're different from a hotel man who's been tilted. You're a boyfriend. True, just a 4-day boyfriend. But a woman like that can do a lot of damage in 4 days' time.
Why are you here, Dollar? What do you want?
I'm here to disillusion you, Garland. Because I don't think you're disillusioned enough right now.
Now, wait a minute.
You're a perfect stranger to me. I don't know you from a Grand Rapids chair. But I'm doing you a favor telling you that Emily Braddock is a crook and a thief and a forger, and that everything she ever told you was a lie. Now and then a woman walks into a man's life that he'd sell his soul for. But don't ever do any business along those lines with this baby, because all she'll do is give you a bad check for it. She's trouble in a great big way, Garland. And you know it as well as I do.
Well, what do you want me to do? Apologize for meeting her?
I'll be satisfied if you tell me why you lied. Garland, Emily Braddock never went to that bar you were talking about earlier. You didn't drop her off there. No one there had even seen her. And she's the kind who could walk into the World Series with 50,000 other people around and still be noticed. Where is she now?
I don't know.
I won't buy that. Not from you. Now, let's try once more. Where is she? What did you do with her after you dropped the luggage off at the Beverly Glen Hotel? Where did you take her? She phoned you from her sister's house yesterday afternoon, didn't she? Right after I'd been here with Sergeant Pells. Garland, you should see that sister.
Ellen's in Santa Monica.
Where?
At a little hotel called El Tonquis. She's registered there as Evelyn Brady.
Where's your phone?
It's over there.
Operator.
Sheriff's office, please.
Thank you.
$1.
Yeah?
$1, could it be fixed so that she wouldn't know that I told you?
Could be.
All of this beats me. I don't understand it.
What?
Oh, what you've told me is true, I know, but an hour ago she called me up and said, Tom, I love you. That sounded true, too, huh? I told her I loved her, and now I'm turning her in. What kind of a crazy world do we live in?
20 minutes later, Sergeant Pells and I were in the rickety elevator in the El Tonquis Hotel, a place as dingy and old as the Spanish name it bore. A little different from the swank hotels where our suspect had lived so gaily. Pells was thinking of it, too.
Yeah, some joint this is.
Yeah. What was it, 518?
Yeah, it's down this way, I think. This one kind of harpoons you a little, huh?
Yeah, I suppose so. There are a lot worse things than passing bad checks and telling lies. But the way she handled it, no one even raised an eyebrow.
Yeah. I heard it.
Yes?
Emily Braddock?
Beg your pardon.
I said, is your name Emily Braddock?
You must have the wrong room. My name's Evelyn Brady.
Sorry, miss. You're the one we want.
I'll have to change into a dress.
I'll check the room. Excuse me.
What's this all about?
I think you already know.
I have no idea. What is it all about?
Bad checks.
There must be some mistake.
All right, miss. Go ahead and change. We'll wait out here.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. We'll have to keep this open a little bit.
Oh?
You can dress behind it if you want. If that doesn't suit you, well, we'll take you down like you are.
Thanks again.
Two windows on the outside, no ledge. Firelighter's across the court.
Any luggage?
A little makeup kit. Bella?
Yeah?
Now that you've seen her, what do you think?
Well, I'm only human. Too bad she's a crook. Emily Braddock was held at the sheriff's office in Malibu. The officers who questioned her reported that she steadfastly refused to admit any part of some 16 counts that had been filed against her. I wasn't surprised to learn this, but I was surprised when she sent word that she'd like to see me before I left town.
Hi. Here you're about ready to beat it.
Uh-huh.
You're the one who talked to him, aren't you?
Talk to who?
Tommy Garland. He told you where I was, didn't he? Sure he did.
I thought you wanted to tell me something.
You thought wrong. The same as all these others around here. I'm not going to tell you or anybody else anything. Police are like hotel men. You figure out their little system and then you beat it.
If you say so. I don't have a lot of time.
We could be pretty good friends, you and I, if this hadn't come up. I mean, a drink or something together. We'd have looked nice.
Now, look, Emily.
You're the one who got him to tell where I was. And he asked you to fix it so I wouldn't know. Oh, yeah, Tommy would do that, I know. What I don't know is what you said to him. How did you get him to tell?
Is that all you're interested in?
It's not asking anything.
Well, I told him just what you are. A thief. A crook.
That sold him?
Well, he told me where to find you.
I guess it did. I must be slipping.
You slipped a long time ago. When you walked out on that sister of yours. When you thought you could talk and look your way into anything you wanted.
I didn't know I thought that, but if you say so. Whatever I've got, it's worked.
Has it? 2 years the last time. Whatever you get this time will be longer, no matter what you say or don't say.
I'm not in a courtroom yet. That's where it happens, not in a lousy jail. We'll see about that.
You're just as bad and just as dumb as the worst of them.
Any day you believe that. Like it says in the manual. When a woman suspect is to be interrogated, remember that the strongest appeal to her is in her family connections and moral outlook. Question her regarding these. Stinking cops. Just stinking cops. You never give up, do you?
Hardly ever.
Stinking cop.
Emily Braddock goes to trial next month. I won't be there, but 6 clients of Baltimore liability will be. Expense account item 5. Miscellaneous, $265. Item 6, same as item 1, transportation back to Hartford. Expense account total, $738.32. Remarks. The next time I go after a check artist, I hope it isn't a good-looking woman who feels that there's no one in the world she can't dominate. This last one scared me, even if she was behind bars. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Remember, friends, Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum refreshes you. Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum gives you real chewing enjoyment. The lively, full-bodied flavor of Wrigley's Spearmint cools your mouth, freshens your taste, sweetens your breath. The smooth, pleasant chewing of Wrigley's Spearmint helps keep you feeling relaxed and satisfied. Makes whatever you're doing more enjoyable. Yes, for refreshment plus chewing enjoyment, treat yourself often to Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Millions enjoy it daily. Get a few packages and always keep some handy. That's Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, brought to you by Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum, stars John Lund in the title role and was written by E. Jack Newman with music by Milton Charles. Featured in tonight's cast were James McCallion, John McIntyre, Bill Conrad, Stacey Harris, Jeanette Nolan, and Joan Banks. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle. The makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum hope you enjoyed tonight's story of Johnny Dollar and that you're enjoying delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Gum every day. This is Charles Lyon, inviting you to join us again next week at this same time when, from Hollywood, John Lund returns as
yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
This is the CBS Radio Network.
John Lund as Johnny Dollar.
It is Johnny Pantella, missing person. You telephoned this office about you Brisbane, did you?
That's right.
Insurance, is that your business?
I'm an investigator.
Oh, I see.
I was sent here by the company that wrote the bonding policy on Brisbane's firm. We heard he'd been reported missing.
Well, that's about it. Mrs. Brisbane filed a complaint with us last night. But how'd you hear about it so fast?
One of Brisbane's clients happened to be one of our insurance brokers. He reported it to us.
Oh.
Any leads?
Nothing so far. I'm going out to talk with Mrs. Brisbane in a little while. If you'd like to come along, you're welcome.
Fine.
We'll return to our program in a moment. But first, I'd like to say a few words about jamming. And I don't mean Mother's Preserve. During wartime, it has frequently been the practice of an enemy country to jam our radio communication. That is, to cut into our broadcasting with broadcasting of their own so that our radio messages cannot be received with any degree of clarity. There was a time when our civilian radio broadcasts were jammed too, unintentional though it was. As you can imagine, it was quite a mess, and still could be. Can you imagine what would happen today if there was no coordination among our many radio and TV stations? Or if the telephone companies didn't cooperate? When radio broadcasting first began in our country, each station chose its own call letters, power, and spot on the dial. It wasn't long before 2 or 3 stations would try to come in on the same spot, and the poor listener couldn't understand a thing he heard. So, to get things organized, the Federal Communications Commission was born. Licenses were issued to each station and to qualified operating engineers. The same thing now applies to TV stations. Today, a radio or TV station may request certain call letters, and if no one else has them, the call letters are issued. But power and the spot on the dial are restricted by laws of nature, and the FCC engineers don't have much choice in what they tell the station operator he can or cannot do. With the telephone and telegraph, however, the situation is different. The FCC makes sure the rates are fair both to the company and to the consumer, and that all of the independent companies work together so that someone in Japan or Germany, for example, can call someone else in New York with practically no delay or trouble. So the next time you pick up a stateside broadcast loud and clear, or hear everything your family says to you over the telephone, just remember that you have the Federal Communications Commission to thank.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, Cosmopolitan Bonding and Insurance Corporation, Cosmopolitan Insurance Building, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Brisbane Fraud Matter. Expense account item 1, $91.35. Airfare and incidentals between Hartford and Detroit. Item 2, $25 even, legal fee. Before I met Sergeant Pantella, I engaged attorney Robert E. Pearson to arrange for a court order impounding all of the records and books in the offices of Hugh Brisbane's small brokerage house. However, I moved an hour too late on that procedure. When I met Sergeant Pantella at the police station, he told me,
"We'll have to look at them first, Dollar. DA's office got out a court order first thing this morning."
Well, I wasn't trying to jump you, Sergeant. I didn't know how far you'd gotten. Just that we're always anxious to get that information on a case like this, so our auditors can get busy.
Yeah.
It's a $25,000 bond, and we'll have to make good on if Brisbane's run away.
We don't know if he's done that, Dollar.
No, we don't. What are your ideas on this, Sergeant?
Well, I only talked with Mrs. Brisbane briefly. She told us she hadn't been home for 2 days. That was last night. The family doctor had already been there and given her a sedative. That's why I had to wait until this morning to get some details.
I see.
I have 4 men covering Brisbane's office force right now, and the DA's men are there, of course, on the books. I will be glad to give you a copy of their findings, maybe save your people some money. Almost 11. Now, what do you say?
Anytime. 40 minutes later, I was in the living room of the Brisbane home with Sergeant Pantella. Hugh Brisbane's wife was settled on a sofa in front of the fireplace. She was a small, stocky woman in her late 30s or early 40s. The clothes she was wearing, the house itself, the appointments of the room about her, all suggested a well-run, well-kept sort of life.
Of course. Sergeant Pantella, isn't it?
Yes. And this is Mr. Dollar from the insurance company.
Yes?
I represent the company that bonded Mr. Brisbane's firm.
Oh, really?
Naturally, we're interested in his whereabouts, too.
Well, is there anything wrong?
We don't know. It's just a matter of routine right now.
I feel much better today, Sergeant. I hope I can be of some help.
Mrs. Brisbane, on a case like this, there are standard questions that we want answered. Now, some of them are personal, but the information is necessary if we're going to proceed with any efficiency.
Oh?
I wanted you to understand that. Now, last night when I spoke with you, you said you hadn't seen or talked to your husband for 2 days.
That's right. I saw him at breakfast Tuesday morning, and that was the last time.
Did you know that after he left here, Mr. Brisbane did not go to his office?
No.
He wasn't there at any time Tuesday or Wednesday, as far as we can find out. Did he take a car?
No. He preferred the bus when the weather was like this.
About what time did you have breakfast with him Tuesday?
Oh, before 9 sometime. He always tried to be in his office by 10:30.
I don't want to frighten you, but can you think of any enemies that might want to do your husband harm?
Enemies? You? Oh, dear, no.
We'd appreciate it very much if you'd consider that question again, Mrs. Brisbane. It's important.
I really can't think of anyone who might want to hurt him. Or perhaps in his office, in his business, there's someone, but he never discussed what went on there with me.
Are you sure?
It was a rule. See, this is our home. That's his business. We just never talked about what went on in his office at all.
I see.
How long have you and Mr. Brisbane been married?
18 years next July.
Well, can you think of any reason why Mr. Brisbane might just walk out and not come back?
None whatsoever, Sergeant. Absolutely none.
You said that you saw your husband last Tuesday morning at breakfast?
Yes.
But you didn't report him missing until last night. Can you explain that?
I wasn't here for dinner Tuesday night, and when I got home it was late in the evening. I presumed he was in his room sleeping. Wednesday I was also out for dinner and came in late. It wasn't until dinner time Thursday that I became worried. I telephoned his office, and they said he hadn't been in for 2 days, and I telephoned the police.
Had his bed been slept in at all?
No. The maid told me that she hadn't made it since Tuesday morning.
Well, weren't the people in his office worried?
I suppose so.
Well, I mean, didn't someone telephone here asking for Mr. Brisbane?
Oh, no. Sometimes he wouldn't be in the office for 2 or 3 days at a time. He instructed the secretary that when he didn't show up, he didn't want to be called at home either.
I see.
Where would he spend his time on these occasions when he didn't go to his office for a couple of days?
Here. Hugh liked to read and write a little. He has a room on the 3rd floor where he spent a great deal of his time.
Would it be possible to look at that room?
Oh, yes, I suppose so.
Well, tell me, have you looked through his bedroom?
Yes?
Any of his things missing?
Not that I know of.
Clothes, luggage, something like that.
I really couldn't say. I don't know enough about his things.
Well, how about the servants? Could they give us that information, do you think?
Possibly.
Miss Brisbane, have you had any odd telephone calls or messages since your husband's disappearance?
No. What do you mean?
Well, again, we don't want to frighten you, but there's always the possibility that he was kidnapped. He's being held for ransom.
Oh, dear Lord.
So I wouldn't worry about that angle too much if you haven't had any contact.
Did Mr. Brisbane drink much?
Cocktails before dinner, maybe 2 or 3.
Ever any long drinking jaunts?
No. Oh, on a weekend occasionally, but nothing serious. Hugh never went off and drank, if that's what you're trying to find out.
Is he in good health?
Yes, perfect, I think.
Oh, who's your family doctor?
Dr. Wayner took care of Hugh. L.D. Wayner.
Okay.
Now, we won't keep you much longer, Mrs. Brisbane, but about the clothing. Mr. Brisbane was wearing Tuesday morning a dark blue suit, gray hat, gray tweed overcoat. Is that correct?
Yes. I remember very distinctly.
We talked to Mrs. Brisbane for another half hour, gathering information concerning the missing man. After that, we questioned both servants and learned that Brisbane was a man of careful and precise habits. We examined the study that Mrs. Brisbane had told us about, as well as his bedroom. To all appearances, and from all we could learn, he had taken nothing with him but the clothes on his back and what money he had on his person. By mid-afternoon, every member of Hugh Brisbane's office force had been interviewed and questioned. None of them were able to furnish a motive behind his sudden and complete absence. He was described by everyone as a model husband and a model business executive. The detail from the district attorney's office reported that his business was in sound financial condition. I went with Sergeant Pantella when he interviewed Dr. Wayner, Brisbane's personal physician.
Well, according to my records, I examined him last on December 13th.
He was in good health.
For a man of his age and responsibility, I would say he was in excellent health.
Oh, could you explain the qualification, Doctor?
Well, I was thinking only by comparison. Hugh Brisbane is 45 years old. He's held a position of tremendous responsibility for many years. For a lesser man or a frailer man, the incidence of an organic disturbance increases with the years. In Brisbane's case, it didn't seem to hold. He knew how to relax, or he knew how to escape for periods of time and get a complete rest. He told me that he read a great deal and tried his hand at writing.
Did you do a complete physical on him, Doctor?
Yes. Why?
Was there any indication or any reason whatsoever for you to suspect that he might suffer from some sort of mental trouble?
No, there was not. I'd say that when I examined him, he was in excellent mental shape, too. Oh, I know you're seeking out the possibility of an amnesia condition or something similar. No, it wouldn't come in a flash, just like that. There would have been some symptoms.
What kind of symptoms?
Well, symptoms that Mrs. Brisbane or the people in his office would have noticed and probably told you about when you questioned them. An inability to remember names, addresses, telephone numbers are the most easily recognized. Someone would have picked up those things in his conversation or his actions. For instance, he might have not been able to count his change when he paid a check at a restaurant. See what I mean?
I see, yes.
I think you can discount the probability of amnesia on those grounds.
How long have you known him, Doctor?
Well, 6 years, I think. He used to go to a friend of mine who passed away, and then he came to me.
Did you ever meet him outside this office?
Socially, yes.
Where?
Well, we both belonged to the same country club. I played golf with him several times. I've seen him at dances, other affairs.
Did he and Mrs. Brisbane strike you as a happy couple?
Oh, I suppose so, Mr. Dollar. I never really thought about it much. I'll tell you this. Hugh Brisbane has quite a head on his shoulders. That was always my impression of him.
Did you ever have occasion to talk with him about anything but business or social activity?
Yes, I did, once. It startled me at first. I was aware that he was a man of education and some culture, but I was quite taken aback by his ability to quote the classicists.
Oh?
It seemed incongruous somehow. I remember we were sitting in the club. It had been a 2:00 lunch. Practically everybody had left except the waiters, and I heard him quote a Greek. Callicles.
Oh, what did he quote? Do you remember it?
Why?
Just curious.
I don't remember it, but I was so impressed with the passage, I took the trouble to look it up myself and to write it down. I have it here somewhere. Yeah. There it is, Mr. Dollar.
Thanks.
Surprising,
I don't know.
What does it say?
But if there were a man who had sufficient force, he would shake off and break through and escape from all this. He would trample underfoot all our formulas and spells and charms and all our laws which are against nature. The slave would rise in rebellion and be lord over us, and the light of natural justice would shine forth. When did he quote this to you, Dr. Waiter?
Monday, the day before he disappeared.
And now, with our star, John Lund, we bring you the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. The disappearance of Hugh Brisbane had been complete and final up until the time the district attorney's men discovered that $5,000 had been withdrawn from his savings account on the morning he'd vanished. The fact that he was known to have a large amount of money with him opened up new possibilities in the case. What was his name?
Cook. This is the third cage.
Oh, yeah. Over there.
Yeah. Mr. Cook?
Yes?
I'm Sergeant Pantera. This is Mr. Dollar.
Oh, yes. You phoned me. It's about Mr. Brisbane?
You took care of him when he was in here last Tuesday. Is that right?
Yes, I handled the withdrawal.
We'd like to see the slip on that, please.
Yes, I looked it up. I have it ready for you.
Thanks.
You said on the phone you'd want a copy?
Yes, for the handwriting man.
Well, you may have that one. There was an automatic duplicate when he made out the withdrawal slip. We have that for our file.
I see. Have you known Mr. Brisbane very long?
Well, I've seen him the many times he's been in the bank since I've worked here.
How long is that?
5 years.
Are you sure you know him?
Oh, yes, of course.
Is this him?
Why, yes.
This is the same man who signed this withdrawal slip last Tuesday morning.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now tell us. What happened?
He just came up to the cage and gave me the withdrawal slip. That's all.
I see. Weren't you a little surprised when he made out a withdrawal slip for $5,000?
No, not particularly.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Oh, well, maybe I was a little surprised, but Mr. Brisbane has withdrawn large sums from his personal savings account several times. Yes, I remember once he took out $3,500, and another time he withdrew $2,000. I assume this was for some sort of speculation where he needed cash on hand.
When he came up to the cage, what exactly did he say to you?
Oh, just good morning, and will you please take care of this?
Was that all?
Yes, that's all.
Well, didn't he stipulate how he wanted the money? Tens, 20s, hundreds?
Oh, yes. He did say that. He took it mostly in hundreds and 50s. I think I gave him $200 worth of 10s and 20s, too, but I'm not sure.
Any of those bills happen to be recorded?
No, I'm sorry.
$5,000 is quite a bundle of money to be carrying around broken down that way, Mr. Cook.
Oh, he was ready for it. He had a small bag with him. He put it all in that.
What kind of a bag?
Oh, just a bag, like a doctor's bag. It was black or very dark brown, I think.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you can remember about it?
No, I'm afraid not.
Initials, maker's name?
No, sorry.
Okay. Dollar?
Yeah, just 1 minute. When Brisbane left the bank with a bag of money, did you happen to see which way he went?
Oh, no. Okay. Oh, wait. I don't know if this is important, but come to think of it, I did notice something peculiar about him that day.
Oh? What?
Well, usually when we did business, he'd be very brisk about it. I mean, he'd hurry away from the cage, but last Tuesday he didn't seem to be in any hurry at all. I had the distinct feeling Mr. Brisbane didn't particularly care in what direction he went somehow.
A recheck with Mrs. Brisbane and the house servants established that Brisbane had not left the house carrying the bag described by the bank teller. A supplementary information bulletin was issued, including a description of the bag. Meanwhile, Sergeant Pantella's men continued the routine check of bus, train, and plane terminals within the city. Still no luck.
Oh, I'm afraid he had too good a start, Dollar. He could be in Europe by now.
Yeah.
Well, what does your company think of all this?
Well, as long as his books are in good shape, the insurance company can breathe a little easier. But they're still worried about him.
I phoned Mrs. Brisbane and told her she could bring charges against him for desertion if she wanted to. That way we'd get a little more action from the other cities. She said she didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. On that savings account, it was a joint account, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he only took $5,000. That leaves her $23,000.
Well, he's really done a good job if he was trying to get away.
With that much money on him, somebody else could have done a good job, too.
Yeah.
Sergeant Pantella, missing persons. What's your name? I know where it is. Right. Well, at least we know he was alive Tuesday night.
How?
That was a man who runs a bar over on Motor Avenue. He said Brisbane was in there Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's him. That's a picture of the guy who was in here Tuesday night.
Are you sure?
Sure, I'm positive.
Was he with anybody?
All alone, sat right down there on that stool.
How long was he here?
Oh, he was here when I come on. He was still here when the place closed.
Did you happen to see where he went from here?
No.
What kind of shape was he in? Was he drunk?
No, real sober and quiet. He drank all night, but it didn't seem to affect him at all.
Well, did you talk to him at all?
No, I just took his orders for drinks. He didn't seem to want to talk to nobody.
I see.
What time did you come on?
8 o'clock.
What time do you close?
2.
Did you happen to notice if anybody who was in here talked to him?
Oh, I think a couple of people tried, drunks, but he didn't have much to say to him, so they just left him alone.
Uh-huh. Anything else happen?
No. Oh, wait, yeah, he was making a phone call all the time he was here, a long-distance phone call from that booth right there. He sat at the end of the bar so he could hear the operator call him back.
You don't happen to know where he was calling?
No.
How do you know it was a long-distance call?
Oh, because once he handed me a 20 and asked me to change it. I gave him $5 worth of quarters. All the quarters I had, as a matter of fact.
Uh-huh. Well, what time was this?
Well, I couldn't say exactly. It seemed to be about 10 o'clock when he started.
You mean when he first placed the call?
That's right. But he was still at it after midnight. I guess the operator was ringing him every 20 minutes the way they do, you know.
Do you know if he completed the call?
Oh, yeah. I heard him slugging quarters into the box once.
Okay.
Did he have anything with him while he was here?
Oh, what do you mean?
Was he carrying a bag or anything?
No, nothing but his overcoat.
Telephone company records disclosed that Hugh Brisbane had placed a call from the pay booth in the lounge. A person-to-person call to a Kenneth Temple in San Francisco. We tried to place a call to the same number, but there was no answer.
I'm sorry, sir. Your party does not answer. I'll call you back in 20 minutes.
All right, miss.
Kenneth Temple. Temple?
Something familiar?
Something, yeah. I don't know what it is, though.
Well, we should be hearing from the police there pretty soon. I asked them to look him up.
We waited another 2 hours trying to complete the call to Kenneth Temple in San Francisco. The operators were still trying when we drove out to the Brisbane residence once more. Mrs. Brisbane led us into the house.
You say you found out something, Sergeant?
Well, we might have, Mrs. Brisbane. Maybe you can help us.
I'll try. Won't you sit down?
Thanks.
Now, what is all this about San Francisco?
We found out that your husband called a man named Kenneth Temple there on Tuesday night.
Oh?
That name, Kenneth Temple, does it mean something to you?
No.
Have you ever heard it before?
I don't believe I have.
Mr. Brisbane never mentioned it to you at all?
I can't say for certain, but it's not familiar to me at the moment.
Mrs. Brisbane, have you ever been to San Francisco?
Yes?
When?
Twice. Going to and coming back from Hawaii 2 years ago.
Has Mr. Brisbane ever been in San Francisco?
He was on the same trip.
The name Temple. Maybe it's someone you met while you were there?
No. I don't recall meeting anyone there at all. We were in a group of people. We all took the same plane from here and stayed together the whole trip.
I see.
Oh, excuse me, please.
Sure. This isn't getting us very far.
I don't get it.
Hello. Me? Oh, yes, operator. Just a moment.
It's for you, Sergeant.
Oh, thanks. Probably San Francisco. Thank you. This is Sergeant Fantella. Yes? Hello, Mr. Temple. This is Sergeant Fantella, Missing Persons Division, Detroit Police Department. We're trying to locate a man named Hugh All right. He's there now.
Hugh, let me talk to him.
Just a minute, Mrs. Brisbane.
Mr. Brisbane, we've been pretty worried about you. Yes, I'm speaking to you from your home. She's fine. Yeah, just a moment. He wants to talk to you.
Hello, Hugh. Oh, it's so good to hear your voice. Hugh, what on earth is... Yes, Hugh. I'm listening. Yes? Yes, Hugh, I remember all that. But Hugh, Yes, dear. All right. You again.
Hello, Brisbane. Yes? Yes, I'm...
Are you feeling all right, Mrs. Brisbane?
I catch my breath.
Sure that was your husband you talked to?
It was you. I'm leaving you and everyone else. That's what he said.
What?
Well, he said that he was going to take a long sea trip with Mr. Temple and that he wouldn't be back for a year if he ever came back. He said he wrote me all of this in a letter that I should receive today. Why would he do a thing like that? He had everything here in this home that he wanted. It's a lovely home. We have lovely friends. Why? Why? If you would have just talked to me about it. I don't...
Maybe he did, Mrs. Brisbane.
What?
A doctor's the only one I found who ever listened to him. It was true. Hugh Brisbane had just plain walked out one day and had no intention of coming back for a long, long time. And as far as the police were concerned, there was no way to stop him. As far as we're concerned, we'll have to sit on that $25,000 bond and hope that he'll come back to Detroit someday when he gets whatever it is out of his system. There's nothing we can do either. Expense account item 3. Room and board at the Chase. $78.50. Item 4, same as item 1, transportation back to Hartford. Expense account total, $286.20. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars John Lund in the title role and was written by E. Jack Newman with music by Eddie Dunstetter. Featured in tonight's cast were Jay Novello, Jeanette Nolan, John McIntyre, Joe Kearns, and Virginia Gray. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle.
John Lund as Johnny Dollar.
Hi, Johnny. Shelley Thomas in Federal.
Well, you're up early today.
I've already been at my desk for 2 hours. How'd you like to work on one for me?
What's it about?
In cold, hard claim cash, it comes to exactly $12,482.16.
That's interesting. What does it mean?
Somebody's been filching a lot of merchandise over in Toledo, and it's beginning to hurt. Could you get over there and have a look around?
Sure. Well, it sounds like a police job to me.
Well, I don't expect any miracles, Johnny. I just want a good factual report on the whole business for my clients.
See you in an hour.
John Lund in a transcribed adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Federal Insurance and Claims Adjusters, 2044 Appalachian Drive, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Costain Matter. Expense account item 1, $49.15. Plane fare and incidentals, Hartford to Toledo. En route, I read over the details concerning the case. 37 stolen merchandise claims had been filed and paid off in what looked like a first-class shoplifting epidemic in Toledo. I parked my 2 bags at the Commodore Perry Hotel and went over to the main police station. Lieutenant Sturgis was in charge.
Sit down, sit down.
Thanks.
Federal Insurance and Claims Adjusters, huh?
That's right.
You're here to find out what we've been doing about all this shoplifting, is that it?
Well, we represent the insurance companies who've had to pay off on these theft claims.
Yeah, sure, I see. Well, where do you want to start?
Let me see. How about this Maumee dress shop, Lieutenant?
Okay. Uh-huh. Let's see. February 10th, proprietor Mrs. Bancroft registered a complaint with us that a dress and a coat were missing from the store racks. Well, we went over there and talked to her about it, made out the report as another shoplifting job, and put a description of the coat and the dress in the hot sheet.
Mm-hmm. Dress wholesaled at $113. Coat had a fur trim. Went at $395.
Yeah. Looked a little better than most shoplifting jobs to us. We had it in mind when we got another complaint 3 days later from a place over on Oak Avenue.
That'd be, Milady's Shoppy?
Yeah. Negligee and a silk robe.
Yeah, we covered that one, too. Both of them came to $286.
Yeah, same thing as the mommy. Clerks hadn't seen anyone, didn't know anything. The week of the 15th, we had 2 more complaints. On the 23rd, 3 complaints. They've been coming in regular ever since. Actually, the last one was 3 days ago. Always the best stores, always expensive merchandise. We rounded up every known shoplifter in our files, and we've had our store personnel at all of our lineups. No one's been able to make an identification so far. First, we thought it was a plain, expert shoplifting done by a well-organized gang.
Looks that way.
Not so much anymore. Did you notice on your list there that all of these items are for a woman?
Yeah.
Dresses, coats, blouses, cosmetics, millinery, costume jewelry, and so on. Now, what we didn't pick up until about a month ago is that all of the articles of clothing that have been taken are for a woman who wears a size 10 dress.
That is a funny one.
Yeah, and it rules out a gang right away. There's pattern to it, but I'm going to have someone else tell you about that.
Yes, Lieutenant?
See if Sergeant Beidler's in.
Right.
99 times out of 100, a shoplifter will take anything he or she can get her hands on, regardless of cost, size, color, or anything else. So we don't think this is the work of an old-timer either.
You mean somebody's just gathering up a nice wardrobe at my insurance company's expense?
Something like that. If any of these stolen articles have been sold or disposed of, we'd have a lead by now. The stuff has been on the hot sheet for months. We've covered pawn shops, second-hand store... Yes?
Sergeant Beidler on 2.
Right. Hello, Sergeant. How's it going?
Fine, thanks, Lieutenant.
There's a man in my office named Dollar. I'm sending him down to see you.
Women in the department reacted a little differently than the men to all this.
How's that, Sergeant?
Well, when they went over the stolen property sheets, they were first impressed, of course, by the fact that all of the clothing was for someone who wore a size 10. The other thing, though, was the good taste.
Well, a lot of thieves have good taste, I suppose.
This one seems to have not only good taste, but a pretty exclusive taste.
You mean the expensive places that have been robbed?
Well, that, but even more. You see here, on March 4th, one green suede coat missing from Toll's apparel shop, and here on the 13th. A brown organdy dress from the Commodore, and here, cocoa-colored sports coat.
Yeah?
Hats and gloves in green and brown, beige, sometimes yellow. No other colors.
Well, what does it mean?
Any woman who restricts herself to these particular colors in dressing, green, brown, beige, cocoa, yellow, must have a very definite coloring of her own. We think a redhead with green eyes.
Well, you know best about that. But, why green eyes? Couldn't they be blue or brown?
Yes, they could be. But there's been a particular emphasis on green in the coats and dresses that have been stolen. And besides that, there's the cosmetics. Did you cover Jaeger's?
Jaeger's, let me see. No.
Well, Jaeger's is a very plush cosmetics store here. Nothing but perfumes and makeup. They reported March 2nd, a whole box of green eyeshadow had been stolen from one of their counters.
And green eyeshadow only goes with green eyes?
Yes, whereas blue eyeshadow would fit a person with either blue or brown eyes. Now, at the same time the eyeshadow was taken, several tubes of lipstick and rouge were also stolen. Both of those items contained orange tinting. That gives us another reason for thinking the eyes are green.
I'm convinced. A redhead with green eyes.
Oh, and it's a short hairdo.
It is?
Look at my hair.
I am, Sergeant.
With a short hairdo like mine, I'd look rather ridiculous in a big picture hat that requires a hair frame. But a small hat, one with a tight contour, would be all right.
Hey, I'm coming around. The Case Millinery store, eh?
Yes.
4 hats. Total value $185?
Yes, those hats that were taken from cases were small, especially designed for a woman with a short hairdo. We think that some of the costume jewelry that's been stolen ties in with the clothes, too.
Uh-huh. Well, how does it stand right now?
Well, we've had our troubles on this one. It's impossible to tie up the manpower it would require to cover every dress and apparel shop in town, not to mention the department stores.
Sure.
We're doing the next best thing. No store has been taken a second time, so we've spotted a dozen policewomen from my department and as many stores around town that still hasn't been hit. And they're posing as clerks.
How long has this been going on?
Since Monday. Maybe we'll get a lead this way.
Yeah. Sergeant, this is just a wild one, but suppose a red-headed woman with green eyes isn't doing it after all. Suppose somebody's doing it for her.
We've thought of that. And it looks like a possibility. None of the personnel we've questioned in any of these stores has been able to say definitely whether or not they saw anyone with red hair on the premises or around the shop to fit the time incidents of the particular robbery.
I see.
And there's another thing we're working on, too, beauty shops.
Oh?
She's a redhead, and she's got all of these expensive clothes. It's a good bet she keeps herself up. You know, has her hair and nails done regularly.
Yeah.
We've covered about 50 different beauty salons in town, the best ones. Told them the kind of woman we're looking for and given them an idea of what she'll be wearing.
Well, if she's still in town, something should break pretty soon. I'd like to go over the original complaints, if it's possible.
Main filings on the second floor. Ask for Sergeant Kelly, and he'll give you what you want.
I'll do that. Thanks a lot. After a full day and a half of studying the crime reports, I wholeheartedly agreed with Lieutenant Sturgis and Sergeant Beidler. Since none of the stolen articles had appeared in any of the usual places for disposal, I was convinced it was not the work of an organized gang or of a previous offender. All clothing that had been taken was the same size in a small variety of colors, and, as Sergeant Beidler had pointed out, suited only to a certain type of woman with definite physical characteristics: red hair, green eyes. Johnny Dollar.
I think we've got something here.
What?
The lead on one of the coats.
I met Lieutenant Sturgis in the police garage, and we drove over to Toll's apparel shop on West Oak Street. One of the clerks there had phoned in and reported she'd seen a woman wearing a green suede coat that had been stolen from the store a month before. The clerk's name was Alice Emerson.
I'm sure it was the coat.
Well, how can you be sure of that, Mrs. Emerson?
Well, it was the only one like it in the entire store. And as far as I know, in Toledo, it had a gathering at the back and gold buttons. I just knew that coat the minute I saw it on her. I just knew it.
Oh, this was about a half an hour ago, you say?
Yes, I was on my lunch hour, and I was eating at the Westgate.
The cafeteria?
Yes. She was about 3 people ahead of me in the line. I didn't remember at first that the coat had been from us, but when I sat down to lunch, I recalled it.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't know what to do exactly. Then I thought, well, I'd better make sure it is the coat, you know. I wouldn't want to make trouble for anyone.
What did you do?
Well, she had a table over by the wall eating her lunch alone. So I finished my lunch, and I walked over near her, and I took a good look at the coat. It was our coat, all right. The one that was taken from that rack over there. I was going right out on the street and call a policeman, but I guess she got a little suspicious of me looking at her the way I did, and she got up and left.
What did she look like, Mrs. Emerson?
Oh, she was a nice-looking woman. About my size, 30 or so. Very nice.
What color was her hair?
Dark. Very dark.
Dark? Black, you mean?
Or dark brown. I don't know which.
Did you happen to notice the color of her eyes?
No, I didn't, but she wore glasses. Horn-rimmed.
You're certain it's the same coat?
Oh, I'm positive.
Have you ever seen the woman before?
No, never. At least I don't think I have.
Nothing familiar about her at all?
No.
Did you happen to notice which direction she went in when she left the cafeteria?
No, I don't know where she went. She just got into a taxi cab.
I went with Lieutenant Sturgis to the offices of the taxicab company that covered metropolitan Toledo. There we began checking the waybills as they came in. Since less than an hour had elapsed from the time Mrs. Emerson called in, we didn't have to go through too many of them. At the intersection of Oak and Westgate, which was right in front of the cafeteria, cab number 418 had carried a fare to a hotel apartment house called the Colonial on the east side of town, Yondota Street. We spoke with the driver of the cab on the phone when he checked into the office. He remembered the fare. A woman in a green suede coat. Try that.
Yeah.
Hello, can I help you?
Police.
Oh?
Now, sometime in the last hour, a cab brought a woman to this address. We'd like to talk to her. She's about 5'4", about 30, dark hair, wearing a green suede coat. You know her?
Well, let's see.
Wore horn-rimmed glasses?
Well, I've got 175 apartments here. Wait, a green suede coat?
Yeah.
Well, Miss Jones.
Jones, huh?
Yes, Lillian Jones. She just checked in 2 days ago.
Alone?
Yes.
What apartment is she in?
1429. Shall I ring her?
No, never mind. We'll just go on up. From the description we gave the desk clerk at the Colonial Apartments, he identified our suspect as Lillian Jones, apartment 1429. She'd come in approximately 20 minutes before we'd arrived. As far as the clerk knew, she was still in her apartment. We took the self-service elevator up to the 14th floor.
Ought to be down this way.
Hey, wait. 1410, then it goes to 21.
Yeah. Oh, the corridor.
Oh, yeah.
Lillian Jones?
What do you want?
Police. I'd like to talk to you.
Oh, just a minute.
May we come in?
We can talk here.
It'll be easier inside.
Here's all right for me.
Let's go inside, Miss Jones.
Okay. What's this all about?
A woman who works at Toll's apparel shop saw you in the Westgate cafeteria at lunchtime today. She said you were wearing a coat that was stolen from them.
She's a liar. I don't even know where Toll's apparel shop is.
She was pretty certain about it.
I've been here all day. I had my lunch here.
Anybody with you?
What do you mean?
Did you eat alone?
Sure, I ate alone.
Miss Jones, we can get the woman from Toll's to come over here and identify you.
Say, listen.
And we can get the cab driver who brought you here to identify you, too.
They'd all be lying. I've been here all day.
Can you prove it?
Sure, I can prove it.
Clerk downstairs said you just came in about 20 minutes ago.
He's lying, too.
It's a green suede coat. You have a green suede coat?
No. Listen, you just get out of there.
Where's the coat, Miss Jones?
I don't know what coat you're talking about.
A green suede coat. Now, what'd you do with it?
I don't have a green suede coat.
Do you have any objection to our looking around?
You bet I have.
All right, we'll get a search warrant. I'm afraid you'll have to come with us, Miss Jones.
I'm not going anywhere with anybody. Get out of here. Get out of my apartment. I'll make plenty of trouble for the both of you.
Come on, Miss Jones.
Lillian Jones had a record of one previous arrest 2 years before. The charge, grand theft. She'd been released for lack of evidence. Her profession was listed as a domestic. The saleslady from Toll's apparel shop appeared and positively identified her as the woman she had spotted in the Westgate cafeteria wearing the stolen coat. The cab driver who'd driven her from the intersection of Westgate and Oak to the Colonial Apartments was called in. He also identified her. She still refused to admit anything, maintaining that she hadn't left her apartment all day. Lieutenant Sturgis took a detail of men to her place to search the premises. I stayed with Sergeant Beidler while she questioned Lillian Jones.
Why won't you tell us what you did with the coat, Lillian?
I don't know what coat you're talking about. Honest, I don't.
Mrs. Emerson saw you wearing it at the cafeteria today. The cab driver saw you wearing it. The clerk at your apartment desk saw you wearing it.
They're all liars. I don't own a green suede coat. You people have no right to hold me like this and ask me all these questions. I haven't done anything.
What did you do with the coat?
There isn't any coat.
Where'd you hide it?
I want a lawyer. Can I call a lawyer?
Tell us about the coat. You stole it from Toll's apparel shop on March 4th. Isn't that right?
I don't know anything about Toll's apparel shop. I told you.
It's on Oak Street.
I'll drop in and say hello sometime.
What about the other thing?
What other thing?
You know what we're talking about, Lillian. Why don't you get it off your chest? We'll find out sooner or later. Who are you working with?
I want a lawyer.
Where's it hidden?
I want a lawyer.
You can make a statement now and save yourself a lot of trouble.
I want a lawyer.
We continued to question Lillian Jones regarding the green suede coat. She denied ever having such a coat in her possession. However, at 3:45 that afternoon, Lieutenant Sturgis returned with his detail of men. They had found the coat, stuffed into a clothes hamper.
I took it over to the shop, and the people there positively identified it as the one stolen on March 4th.
Yeah?
Yeah, it had their label and one of their stock tags in the pocket.
Well, that should do it.
I don't know what we've uncovered here, though. There wasn't anything else in the apartment that fit any of the other thefts.
Yeah? Well, you can hold her on this.
Oh, sure. I'll have her booked in right away.
Lillian Jones was charged with grand theft. Before she was taken to the main jail, she admitted that she had stolen the coat. But not from the apparel shop. From the home of a family by the name of Costain. She said she'd been employed there for 2 weeks as a domestic servant. Mr. Costain was a civil engineer with offices in downtown Toledo. They informed us that he'd already left for his home, so we drove out there to interview him. It was a large, 12-room place on the edge of town. A servant took us into the living room. A few moments later, a tall, gray-haired man in his early 50s made an appearance.
I'm Mr. Costain. I'm Lieutenant Sturgis, Mr. Costain. This is Mr. Dollar.
How do you do? Police?
That's right. They hate to bother you around dinner time like this.
Quite all right. Sit down, please.
Thanks.
We're holding a woman downtown named Lillian Jones, Mr. Costain. I understand you employed her at one time.
Lillian Jones? Oh, the maid, yes. Is she in trouble?
We're just checking her story.
I see.
She was in possession of a green suede coat at the time we took her in, Mr. Costain.
Mm-hmm.
She insists that she took the coat from your home.
Why would she say a thing like that?
Well, we don't know. We thought maybe you could clear that up.
I have no idea what she's talking about. I fired her last Tuesday, I believe it was. That was the last I saw of the woman.
Was she very angry when you fired her?
Not particularly. It's just that she didn't work out here very well. I gave her 2 weeks' pay, told her to go.
It's a green suede coat with gold buttons down the front.
I don't know where she got it, I'm sure, but I know she didn't get it here.
Funny she'd tell us she stole it from here?
Yes, it is. But I don't know why.
Is Mrs. Costain at home?
Mrs. Costain passed away last February.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a daughter?
No.
Well, we have to check into all these things, you know.
Oh, I understand. I wish I could help you.
You can, if you will, Mr. Costain.
How's that?
Would you mind dropping into my office tomorrow and taking a look at the coat?
I don't know what good that would do, but I'll be glad to do it.
You just might recognize it. Perhaps it belonged to Mrs. Costain.
Possibly, although I don't remember it.
Room 212 in the main building.
All right, Lieutenant. I'll be there in the morning.
Fine.
Sorry to have bothered you.
Not at all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Did you see it?
The color print on the piano?
Yeah. A red-headed woman with green eyes.
A check in the neighborhood revealed that the Costains had been living in Toledo less than a year. Before that, they'd lived in Detroit. Financially, they were in the upper income bracket. The house was completely paid for. There were 2 expensive late-model cars in the garage. The Office of Vital Statistics informed us that Mrs. Costain had died on February 6th of a heart condition. It also noted that her hair had been red, her eyes green.
Lieutenant Sturgis, robbery. Oh, yes, of course. I see. What, are you going to be home? Fine. I'm Costain.
Yeah?
Yeah, he just changed his story. He said he did know that Lillian Jones stole that coat when she left the house.
You give any reason for not admitting it when we were there?
No, just wants to see us.
I'm afraid I've caused you some trouble on this.
Oh, we don't quite understand why you didn't tell us about it last night.
It's rather simple, probably rather silly. I have a devil of a time keeping servants here for some reason. If a notice got in the paper I'd accused one of them of theft, well, I'd have a difficult time getting another one. They're that way.
That coat's worth over $600, Mr. Costain.
Yes, I know. It belonged to my wife.
And you let it go like that?
Oh, I'm insured for personal loss.
Did you report this to your insurance broker?
Oh, yes.
Did you file a claim?
Yes.
What's your broker's name?
Mr. Levant. He has offices in the Metropolitan Building.
When did you report the loss?
On Wednesday.
You mind if I call him and check this?
I don't see why that's necessary. I've just told you what I did about the matter.
Oh, we're still puzzled, Mr. Costain. That coat was reported stolen from Toll's apparel shop last March 4th.
Oh, that's absurd, of course. Mrs. Costain bought that coat for herself a week or so before her illness.
Did she handle it, or did you?
What do you mean?
Well, did she pay for it, or were you billed?
I suppose I was billed. I don't recall. Are you insinuating that Mrs. Costain might have stolen that coat?
No, Mr. Costain. Your wife was already dead when that coat was stolen.
Oh, no. You're wrong.
What do you mean?
Edna's not dead. She'll come back. And when she does, I'll have all these things for her. The things I denied her before.
Denied her?
Yes. I always told Edna she was too extravagant, that she didn't need all those expensive things.
Well, you could have bought them. Why did you steal them?
I always denied her the things she loved. When Edna went away, I don't know what came over me. I mean, the loneliness seemed too much somehow. And I'd go out during the day from my office and wander through the stores that she used to love very much. And whenever I had the opportunity, I stole the things she always wanted.
What did you do with them?
They're in Edna's bedroom, hanging in her wardrobe. Would you like to see them?
Expense account item 2, $75.25, board and room while in Toledo. Item 3, $62, miscellaneous. Item 4, $41.10, plane fare back to Hartford. Expense account total, $227.50. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars John Lund in the title role and was written by E. Jack Newman with music by Milton Charles. Featured in tonight's cast were Hal March, Hy Averback, Edgar Barrier, Virginia Gregg, Mary Lansing, and Peggy Weber. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, was transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle. This is Charles Lyon, inviting you to join us again next week at this same time when, from Hollywood, John Lund returns as...
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
For your listening enjoyment, John Lund as Johnny Dollar.
Frank Ahern at Universal Adjusters, Johnny.
Oh, hi. How are you, Frank?
Well, a little worried at the moment. Can you help me out?
Well, that depends on what I have to do.
You have to take a little trip for one thing. The farm near Lexington, Kentucky.
Well, it's a slow time of the year to get out in the country. What else?
Talked to a man named Calcor there. Had a racehorse that insured for $65,000.
I hate to have to pay the premium on that kind of policy.
Well, that's just it, Johnny. Got a wire on my desk here from a man in Calcor's business office. The horse was seriously injured and had to be destroyed.
Wow. No wonder you're worried, Frank.
I'll be right over.
John Lund in another adventure of a man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
While we take a breather from our program, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you know who Uncle Sam's lawyer is? If your answer is the Attorney General, you're absolutely right. But being legal advisor to the President and other governmental agencies is only part of his job. His main task is running the Department of Justice, which makes sure that the laws passed by Congress are carried out, and that lawyers are available when the government must be represented in court. Let me give you an example. Suppose there is some question concerning the amount or kind of tax you should pay, or suppose you and the government don't agree as to which of you owns certain land. That's when the Department of Justice steps in to represent the government side of the case. If anyone is brought to trial for counterfeiting, smuggling, gold hoarding, or passport forging, the Department of Justice prosecutes the case. It also handles all matters dealing with legal immigration. And all of this activity is the responsibility of an important member of the President's Cabinet, the Attorney General. Just as it is the duty of the United States government to protect each and every one of you, it is the duty of the Attorney General to protect the government of the United States.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Universal Insurance Adjusters, Suite 814, Kittredge Building, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Oklahoma Red Matter. Expense account item 1, $107.80. Airfare and incidentals between Hartford and Lexington. Item 2, $5.50. Transportation from the airport to the Great Southern Hotel, where I checked in and changed clothes. Then to an address on Peach Avenue, Calgar and Company, Incorporated. Mr. Calgar is never here, Mr. Dollar. Spent all of his time at the farm. You'll have to see him there. Well, maybe I won't have to bother him at all. How about Mr. Monroe? Mr. Monroe isn't with Mr. Calgar's office anymore. Well, that's funny. He was yesterday afternoon when he sent my company this wire about the policy. He and Mr. Calgar ended, please. I might as well tell you. Oh. Well, is there anybody else around here I can talk to about this? I think you'll have to see Mr. Calgar. A phone call to the Calgar Farms disclosed that Mr. Calgar was out for the day. Another half hour of conversation in the office, and the reluctant clerk finally gave me a name and an address. He was a tall, lanky man who never took his hat off. Dr. Pierce, veterinarian. Bald Oklahoma Red, huh? The people who wrote policy sent me down from Hartford. Is there something wrong? Matter of procedure, Doctor. Mr. Calgar's office has filed claim for a $65,000 indemnity. Apparently, Mr. Monroe, who handled these things for Mr. Calgar, is no longer with him. Yes, I understood the quarrel. And Mr. Calgar is not around at the moment. I don't get it. If Lord Calgar has been down that much insurance, he's got a right file claim for it. Just good business to get the price, that's all. You treated him? Yes. The wire said something about a piece of machinery. A tractor with a blade S. He had red back into it, hard. Cut through his right hamstring all the way to the bone. You make out a report in a case like this? In honesty. The man was just like a human. Any of them are liable to get scared or hurt sometimes. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Oh. Most of the tenders were cut, huh? Those that weren't fettered were arrested. Uh-oh. Yeah. This notation about the carcass. Cremated on the premises. Why so fast? Calgar wanted it that way. Well, that'll make my job a little more complicated. Unless you took some x-rays. There was no need to. Well, if you could already fit in by the time I got there. What do you need him for? Proof that the injury occurred more than anything else. Mr. Calgar called you right after it happened, did he? That's right. I got there maybe 10 minutes later. Lloyd was alone with the horse. And the minute I laid eyes on that animal, I knew. And you advised Mr. Calgar he had to be destroyed? I didn't have any choice. Did you consider calling in another vet?
Oh, you kidding me?
Did Mr. Calgo ask you to call in another vet?
No, Mr. Dollar. He took my word for it. Why don't you?
Part of my job, Dr. Pierce. I can't take anybody's word for anything. Expense account item 3, 30 cents. For the 5 airmail stamps, it took to mail a copy of the complete injury report to a veterinarian service in Cleveland. Item 4, $25, car rental. That afternoon, I drove out to the Calgore breeding farm. Like most of the others I'd passed, it was complete with white fences, rolling hills, blue grass, and a stately colonial residence, just like the movies. A sullen, attractive girl in her early 20s met me at the door. I told her my name and who I wanted to see.
You're not an insurance salesman. You hear about Red. Now, what happened to him, aren't you?
That's right.
I'm Miss Chicago.
I'm glad to know you.
How much did Daddy have Red insured for?
$65,000. I don't know whether I'm supposed to discuss this with you, Miss Calgo.
If Red had gotten on the tracks this year, he'd have doubled that. Tripled the problem. There's not enough money in the world to affect that horse. He was a great horse.
He must have been. I'm sorry this happened.
Dad couldn't have stopped Red.
Oh, I understand he was injured beyond hope.
That's a lie.
What's that?
Dad couldn't have shot him. He just couldn't have done it. Red was the only thing around this whole place worth anything.
Well, wasn't the horse injured?
That's what they'll all tell you. But I can tell you something else.
What are you talking about, anyhow?
It was a terrible thing to do.
Go to your room.
It was just like murder, and you know it.
Lucy?
It was murder.
Stop it. Any time I've ever had to shoot a horse around here, she gets like that. And that way ever since she was a little girl.
I see.
I knew I'd have to put up with her acting like that. But I'm reluctant to apologize to you for her actions. Ed Pierce told me you were in to see him.
I wish he hadn't. I intended to tell you myself, Mr. Calgore. If I've offended you, I'm sorry for it.
Makes you look like I'm doing something shady. You could have come to me instead of going to him.
I tried to. We have to go to everybody. Dr. Pierce ordered the horse destroyed. Seemed like a fair opening to go to him and ask why.
What do you want from me?
All the information you can give me about the accident. Now, no matter what you think of me or my methods, I'm the man assigned to this case. This report has to be complete before your claim can be paid.
You always handle a case this way.
Well, that's the way I'm handling this one.
They don't know what they're doing sending a man like you here.
You filed a claim by wire. What did you expect?
That fool Monroe filed the claim. I'd have waited until things around here calmed down a little.
Is that why you fired him?
That's one reason. Are you here to accuse me of something?
Look, there's $65,000 at stake here. We'll pay it out when we're satisfied all the circumstances were proper and not before.
I'm not afraid of you, Dollar, or your insurance company. I don't like your snooping around my office talking to my friends about me. No man would.
If I don't get my information from you, I'll get it somewhere else. What I've seen of you so far and what information I have got hasn't been in your favor.
I don't like that kind of talk.
You don't seem to like anything about this. Now, how about it? Do we keep this up, or do we get down to business?
The trainer was bringing Red back from his exercise. Outside the store, Red got scared. Mouse or something, and he reared back into that blade. When Doc got here, he said Red didn't have a chance, so I shot him, that's all.
It's trainer. What's his name?
Jim Knight. He isn't around anymore. I fired him right then and there. Told him to get off my property.
Who else was there?
No one. The rest of them were up at the house having dinner.
Oh, fine. How about right afterwards?
I just called Dr. Pierce. We handled it.
Been better if you'd left the remains for us to examine.
Dollar, I got maybe 150 head on this farm. Now and then accidents happen. One of my stock is dead. I get rid of it as fast as I can. That's the way I operate.
Oh. Where can I get in touch with Jim Knight? Where did he go?
I don't know. He took the things and cleared out as fast as he could. He knew better than to hang around here.
What do you mean by that?
What I said, he knew better. That's what I mean.
Did your daughter see any of this?
Lucy. You know those crazy things she was saying when I walked into the room?
In view of the crazy circumstances, what she was saying might be worth listening to.
Pipe dream.
I'd like to talk to her just the same.
Abbott! Abbott!
Yes, Mr. Go. Come.
You talk to anybody you like, Dollar. You've already got all the information you're going to get from me. Yes, sir, Mr. Chicago? Yes, sir. Show him out. This way, sir.
Never mind. I can find my own way. When I left Lloyd Calgore, I wasn't sure whether I'd talk to a trained man or not. Calgore's belligerent attitude seemed to permeate the whole farm. The horse handlers I talked to were grumbling and complaining, and I was able to learn nothing from them except a Baltimore address for Jim Knight. However, I did talk to Lucy Calgore again, down by the stables.
I thought you left a long time ago.
I wanted to talk to you before I did.
What about, Mr. Dollar? Your business is with my dad, not with me.
Oh, pardon me if I seem to be confused. Earlier today, you were very anxious to tell me something.
Was I?
Yes, you were. What is this, anyhow?
I wish we hadn't met at all.
But we did. And you said there was no need to destroy the horse after it had been injured. Did you mean the horse could have been saved? Did you have a reason for saying something like that?
I've just been very upset lately. All of us around here have.
Yeah, I'm getting that way myself.
Red was the best horse we've had in the stable in 5 years. We've all been counting on him since he was a colt. And when this stupid thing happened, it just turned all of us upside down.
Is that your explanation for the things you said to me?
Yes, for the moment. Please don't ask me any more questions right now.
The Calgores were turning out to be a dandy pair to deal with. Back in town, I checked on Calgore's financial situation. It was good, as far as the local banks were concerned. Expense account item 5, $2.20, telegram. One to Hartford requesting further information regarding Calgore's credit standing. The other to Baltimore, Maryland, addressed to Jim Knight. The next morning, I received an answer to the latter. Johnny Dollar.
Baltimore, Maryland, calling Mr. Dollar. You want to hold on?
Sure.
Ready here with your call to Lexington. Go ahead. Thank you. Hello?
Hello. Hello.
Is this Mr. Dollar, the man who sent the telegram?
Yes. Who's this?
I'm Jimmy Knight's mother. The wire said it was important for him to get in touch with you. I thought I'd better call and tell you where you could reach him.
Well, that's very kind.
Now, he's at the Calgore farm near Lexington. You can reach him there through Mr. Lawrence.
Wait a minute.
Calgore.
He left there 3 days ago, Mrs. Knight. Didn't he come home?
Why, no. Well, are you sure he isn't at the Calgore place?
I'm positive. Do you have any other ideas where he could be?
No. But this doesn't sound like him and Mr. Dollar. He wouldn't just go off without letting me know about it.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure he's my son. Maybe there's something wrong.
Yeah. Maybe there is.
And now, with our star, John Lund, we bring you the second act of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar.
When I talked to Jim Knight's mother in Baltimore, the Calgore claim was just about at a draw. I had a strong suspicion that the death of the horse had not occurred as reported. On the other hand, I had found no apparent reason for Calgore to do away with an animal that was evidently more valuable than the insurance had carried. It came down again to searching for the only other witness, Jim Knight. I promised his mother I'd have him contact her if I found him anywhere around Lexington. But that didn't seem likely after re-questioning several people at the Calgore farm.
Now, this is where Mr. Knight stayed all the time he was here, Mr. Dollar.
Uh-huh.
You can see for yourself it's all cleared out. Not a stitch left.
Did you happen to see him leave?
No, sir. Right after the accident, he's gone. Just like that.
I wonder if any of the others saw him.
We talked about that. Nobody saw him go.
Did he have a car?
No, sir.
Well, he had to have a suitcase or two. How do you suppose he got away from here, then?
Adam, I guess. I don't know. He could have lugged him out to the road and flagged himself a ride or waited for the bus.
Maybe someone drove him?
Miss Lucy might have, sir. She drove Mr. Knight around now and then.
That business you were telling me about before, it'll have to be looked into, Lucy.
Yeah.
Because you intimated that your father and Dr. Pierce might be lying about the whole thing. You realize that if there's any truth to that, your father would be liable to criminal charges.
I know. I was just trying to put Dad in a bad light.
Well, he's not in a very good one right now.
It was just a spite, and that's all there is to it. See, Dad and I have been arguing for weeks now.
And when I walked in the door yesterday, you saw a way to get back at him, is that it?
Something like that.
Is that Oklahoma Red up there?
Mm-hmm. I took the picture myself.
Well, I'm no horseman, but he looks like a lot of horse.
He was. You know that the worst broken-down plug who ever pulled a junk wagon has more dignity than any man who ever lived.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. What's the trouble between you and your father?
A man named Jim Knight. Used to work here as a trainer.
Yeah, I heard. I was going to ask you about him.
Yes, I thought so much. Jim and I saw quite a bit of each other, and Dad never liked that.
Why?
Well, I suppose because I'm all he has left. Mother and Bob, he was my older brother. They were killed in an accident a few years ago. Dad had been looking for an excuse to get rid of Jim.
Your father doesn't strike me as the kind of man who'd have to give an excuse to fire someone he didn't like.
You think he's mad?
What?
Nothing. Jim was a good trainer. Very good with Red, and that's important. When the accident happened, I can imagine what Dad had to say to him when he fired him.
You know where I can find him now?
No. He didn't say a word to me when he left. Not even goodbye.
Lucy, you suppose your father will ever calm down enough so I can talk to him?
I don't know. The Cowboys have always been a terribly angry bunch of people. Very emotional. There doesn't seem to be much of a let-up these days.
Is that what you meant when you asked me if I thought he was mad?
I suppose so. It's almost as if he's on the verge of something lately, something desperate. His moods frighten me sometimes. I didn't used to. You know, I was thinking. A couple of years ago, Daddy bought a new car. We were out driving one day, and something went wrong. Well, he was so angry, he just smashed it into a cement wall and left it.
Lucy, tell me about Jim Knight.
I was in love with him from the first day he came to work here. I still am. That's all there is to tell.
I saw Lucy Calgore again the following afternoon when I returned to talk with her father. She told me he was gone and wouldn't be back until evening. I spent some more time with the people on the farm, trying to find out anything that would help, but nothing did. That night, when I picked up my key at the hotel desk, there was a message to call Operator 18 in Hartford. It was Frank Ahern.
Calgore's got a very good rating with Dennis Branch. He doesn't need money.
Well, then that angle is practically out, Frank. There's just no reason for him to kill that animal that I can think of.
How about the others?
No one seems to know what happened to Jim Knight.
This, as far as we go, John?
Somehow I feel there's more to it. What it is, I don't know, Frank. It beats me.
Well, how about going to the police and asking them to help you locate that?
Something just occurred to me, Frank.
What?
Calgore hasn't threatened to go to the insurance commission or the sewers yet.
That's usually pretty standard to speak with a man like that.
Yeah, it is. If he's got a just claim.
What is it now, Mr. Dolly? It's late.
I just talked to my office in Hartford, Dr. Pierce. They aren't very happy with the way this case has been going.
Is that so?
They're about ready to close it and call me home.
Well, you mean they'll pay you the claim?
No, I don't mean that at all.
Hmm?
Look, Doctor, I spent some time checking you out because you're one of the parties who can help settle this thing. You've been in practice around Lexington for 32 years. People think a lot of you.
And they take my word.
Well, I don't. I can't. I'd hate to see a nice guy like you get the book. I think I can stop it if you'll cooperate.
The book? What do you mean?
Forget I'm an insurance investigator. I'm just a guy giving you some information. When I said my adjustment company's ready to close the case, I mean that Calgore will have to sue for a settlement. In court, he'll have to produce Jim Knight and prove his story. With what we have so far, he'll lose the suit, and the insurance company will file charges against him for attempting to defraud. And they won't fool around. There's no outfit tougher than an insurance company when somebody's trying to cheat him.
And, you'll have to be in court, too. You see what I mean? Yeah. Well, how about it?
I've been his son for 18 years.
And he asked you to lie for him. That's understandable to me. But in a court, it's perjury. False testimony.
What do you do to him?
That's up to the company. I'll have to hear your part of it first.
Oklahoma Red was dead when I got there. He hadn't been in any accident. Lloyd made me promise to tell you that. Lloyd just got it.
Just got it? Why?
Well, Red wasn't the horse Lloyd thought he was. Great confirmation that he just wouldn't run. Lloyd got the money.
Shot. And Knight saw it. Is that it?
Yeah. Lloyd probably gave him some money to go with. I don't know. He's losing his mind, I think.
I've heard that about him before.
From who?
Lucy?
Yeah. She had a reason. Like I said, I've known Tom Dog for 18 years.
Expense account item 6, 35 cents. I lost it in a payphone trying to get in touch with Caldor. No one answered, so I drove out. Hey in there. Open up. Open up. Open up, somebody. Open up.
Mr. Dollar, sir. Good evening.
Hello, Abbott. Can you hear me?
Mr. Dollar, maybe this ain't such a good time to be coming around.
Is Mr. Caldor back yet?
Yes, sir, he is, but...
I'd like to see him.
Mr. Dollar, please,
Hello, you go on ahead.
All right, Miss Lucy.
Hello, Johnny. Dad's not in a very good mood.
Neither am I. Hey, you've been crying. What's this?
Oh, I just wish you'd be able to do anything.
There now.
Oh, Johnny, I'm very happy.
Take your hands off her.
What?
I said take your hands off her. I'll kill you.
Oh, be careful.
I told you. I'd kill one man for that kind of thing. Lucy, baby.
No, don't touch me.
What?
Johnny,
Pretty heavy pain.
I'll get a doctor.
No, where'd he go?
I don't know. What that mean? Johnny, did you hear?
About killing someone else?
He was talking about him. Johnny. Oh, Johnny.
I called the local sheriff's office and then took a look around the grounds. All the cars were still in the garages. Then I heard some sort of disturbance near the stables.
Don't come any closer. I've got a shotgun here.
I got a gun, too.
Go away from here.
The police will be here any minute. This won't do you any good. Caldor. Be better if you're in the house, ready to make a statement. Dr. Pierce told me he lied for you. And you said you killed someone. Was it Jim Knight?
I told you to go away from here.
You'd better come out.
I'm going to pay a whole bunch of you.
Don't do anything foolish. You didn't have to do it this way, Caldor. Life held.
Night, Bob. Under the floor. All these things we know about Red.
I know.
Night tried to stop him. But that was crazy. I'm not, am I, Dollar?
Take it easy.
I'm not crazy.
Well, that's that.
Expense account item 7, $37.50, miscellaneous. Item H, same as 1, transportation back to Hartford. Expense account total, $286.45. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.